Now, we don't see that, but somewhere between him saying stand still, people looking at God and say, God, how and God said, what you got in your hand? Yeah. And so I think sometimes we can be the men of God who can just call fire from heaven.
Yes.
We just left the mountain, but we'll go hide in that cave.
Run from Jezebel.
What? Go ahead.
No, because you brought up Moses, and it seems Moses, and the other part about that, and we were probably going to get to it, but the other thing, because I hear this brokenness, and one of the things that sometimes we forget was Moses was doing ministry, he was doing it very well, but then his father-in-law comes and says, hey, you left some folks, you got a wife,
You got some kids
and some children.
Yeah.
I need to get them to you because you didn't got to focus on leading these people. But you got some people that need you and you need them. And a lot of times we get so caught up as ministers in our brokenness. And sometimes we get so used to the point that I can't let the people see me being broken. And we hide from our own spouses who can help us through our brokenness. That's why you put them. Yeah. And that's our first ministry. And I think that's a lot of times.
Which kind of says, I want to lead to this next question. And there's two things to piggyback on what you said. There is, I think we were talking about being vulnerable. You can be vulnerable because it can minister.
Yes.
But at the same time, the devil uses that vulnerability to cause you to close back in because it takes one comment. It takes somebody in that moment where you're being vulnerable to take that and abuse you with it.
Yes.
And you're saying, I'm just going to preach the word. I'm never going to give a personal example ever again. Because somebody took that, made some phone calls, found out where I went to high school, went through Facebook, pulled up stuff that I was talking about, and hurt me with it.
It's Jezebel preaching. It's Jezebel.
And see, that's why I tell people, to me, and I could be wrong, but to me there's a difference between being transparent and being vulnerable. I can be transparent with you and let you know, hey, this is who I am, this is what I've gone through. But being vulnerable with you takes for us to have a close relationship. That's why, if you look at my Facebook page, very rarely do I have members from our church there. Because they don't understand that the preacher is also a human. I like to crack jokes, I like to have fun. And then our preacher, he joked too much. Well, see, this ain't for you. or there gonna be some days when Sister Brown gonna come and her wig ain't on right. That's because she just got finished slapping me before we got in the car, so she didn't straighten it up. We gonna have some arguments sometimes. We gonna have some problems. And so and so you have to be careful with being vulnerable because people that are not godly will take your vulnerability and exploit you and use it to break you down.
Right.
But if I'm transparent with you, I can be transparent with you, us not being me not.
But the pain in that comes, as he said, it's sometimes okay, but the enemy's going to use that. And what becomes painful from my perspective is they don't realize that some of the sermons that God is preparing you for and preparing for them, he had to take you down through it. Hosea, if you really, take just a generic look back, this is just a story that God is saying, y'all don't understand how much I love you. Y'all don't really get it. And Hosea is like, you know what? Tell me what I need to say to him. And God says, I tell you what to do. Here's what you say. Go marry a prostitute. Well, God, why didn't you just give me the sermon? But you couldn't have gotten the sermon until you knew. So that's when, like you say, my family had to go through this. Not because we needed it. We were good. Yeah. But you needed it. And after going through all of that, as you said, they use it against you. And it's like, y'all didn't understand where we were during the time that we were preaching a word that you needed.
One thing I do believe, though, is that, and my mind keeps going back to younger preachers, you do the very best you can to live a very high, moral, spiritual life. But at your best, remember that Jesus was called a wine bibber. Jesus was accused of going into witchcraft, whatever, Beelzebub.
Yeah.
Jesus was looked at funny when that woman
Yes.
put that oil on
Yes.
his feet and rubbed his hair,
Yeah.
and Jesus was pure. But here's an accusation against a woman, accusation about the devil, and an accusation about running around with sinners. And he was pure.
That's good, man.
The only thing I say is do the best you can to be as moral and have as sterling of character as you possibly can. But don't think that that will keep you from trouble, as it will protect it from what people may say about you. It won't, it's not a surefire that you're going to get no exemption.
How do you deal with distractions? Announce them.
Because I want to kind of answer your question, because for me, I don't think you can eliminate distractions as much as you can mitigate distractions. You know, you have to be able to because there's some things that I think we talked about. There's some things that I just ain't gonna deal with. You know.
But if you get into ministry, like, what is a distraction? Because here's one thing in ministry. When you get into ministry, you have a different schedule. Your time is different. You don't have an 8 a.m. clock. Depending on what your ministry is, but you don't. You know,
All right.
who's trying to control you? But you don't have you have a different schedule. I think, as you mentioned, if I'm going to minister, I'm going to minister when my people get off work.
Well, sometimes your people can be a distraction. Because I go to my building on Tuesdays through Friday, and I'm sitting in there, and I'm sure, and I think I talked to Trey about this. I'll be sitting there, and I really believe it goes to people don't know what the preacher does, because they will text you at all time of day. If they come by the building, I got to go see my preacher. Now I'm studying, so I got to come out of Jerusalem to come back to Charleston, South Carolina, just for you to stick your head and say, I didn't mean to bother you. I just wanted to say, hey, well, if you didn't mean to bother me, why you not? And so sometimes they can be a distraction, and not that you don't love them, but I think sometimes we don't create enough a boundary between ourselves to let them know, listen, I would love to talk to you,
But I'm working right now.
but right now I'm trying.
Jesus did.
Yes. yeah, even Jesus, yeah.
He
Yeah.
pulled
So
away
that
several
can
times.
be a
So you say
distraction.
people can be a distraction. What else would you say?
I'm trying to be just transparent. I think sometimes, for me, I can be a distraction, and I'm talking about the me of, I know what I need to be focused on, but sometimes my agenda comes in there. Sometimes my desire comes in, and I have to rein myself in. Is this what God wants you to do for that person, for that family, for this series? Or is this just something that you wanted to get off your chest? And that's a time you were asking how to deal with it. In general, how I'm learning to deal with distraction is going back to my first church, my home. Because no matter what I'm going through and no matter what the struggle is, I got an amen corn at home that loves me in spite of me. I've got 2 beautiful kids that I'm not, Brother Walker, I'm not, hey, Doc, I'm Daddy.
Yeah.
And they just want to play with Legos, man. And that helps to take my mind away from the I'm trying to say, I'm trying to do it. Oh, what am I going to do about this? And this is, no, God says, go back to church. And when I come out of that, now for some reason, or coming to things like this, I'm inspired again. I'm inspired to get back on
Focus.
Yeah, to get back focused.
So you said people can be a distraction. You said sometimes we can distract ourselves because of our own motives and desires.
Right.
What would you say are some other distractions in ministry?
Well, in
won't sound right, but ministry itself can be a distraction. and I know that don't sound right.
You gotta break that down.
Give me a chance. Yeah. You're not supposed to do everything.
Okay.
We have the leisure, the latitude of doing a lot of things, minoring in a lot of things, but we need to major in something. The distraction comes when we no longer major, we're minoring in everything. That is, we have a particular call on our lives. We need to have a mission ministry. That is, I'm targeting something, I know what it is I'm supposed to do, I'm purpose, I'm driven, and I'm called by God to do a particular. Along my way, I may touch somebody. Somebody might touch the hem of my gun. but I'm headed somewhere.
Yes.
But in my pursuit after my ministry, my mission, if somebody else is blessed, fine. What happens is in ministry, young preachers and older preachers too, is that we become responsive ministers.
Mm.
We spend our time responding to so-and-so called, I'm going. This happened, I'm doing. So-and-so said this, I'm counseling. It's responsive as opposed to proactive. I'm going somewhere. I have a mission in mind. When I wake up every day, there is something I'm supposed to accomplish this day. And anything else is a benefit if it's blessed by me. But I have a target, I have a mission, I have an aim, I have a goal. Ministries don't propel forward when you have a responsive and a reactive ministry. God put people around us to respond to needs. He put us in the front to be the trajectory of the ministry. So you lose your point, you lose your arrow, you lose your focus when everybody's just simply responding. Then you have a flat church that's ministering, but it ain't going nowhere.
I know a preacher said one time, someone said, I need counseling. I do counseling on Thursday and Friday. Somebody says, hey, that's on Tuesday. When you talking about being responsive, somebody said, well, I need it. And then we respond at the moment instead of saying, I have already scheduled a time for that every week. And can you fit within that time? And if not, we're going to have to do this next week because I only do it.
What you don't manage will manage you.
That's
If you manage it,
That's a
it's
good
gonna
word,
manage
man.
you. So you may be just being managed by your ministry instead of managing your ministry.
There's a German term, sits in Leben, and it means situations in life. And as we're going down, situations arise. And the idea is, do you keep going, or do you simply respond to every situation? I think that what you were saying is being purposeful, being intentional. If you don't have a schedule, people will make a schedule for you.
Yes.
And I think that is a good way of being able to avoid a whole lot of the distractions that take us away. But you don't have a distraction if you're not going somewhere.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But then you look at it, I think sometimes what we may have been taught about ministry is responsive. That he ain't really doing unless I can go in his office and touch him. I don't know where what he doing.
I think that comes with the demands that people put on us.
Right.
Sure. I called you and you are not available.
You must not
And
be
you
available.
feel a sense of guilt.
Right.
Yeah.
And you may be whatever in ministry, but there's a little part of you as a man, when somebody says that to you, preacher, I reached out to you and you were not there.
Yeah.
That stings.
Yeah.
It may not sting to others, especially not a minister. You're like, well,
Yeah.
I wasn't available. And I'm not responsible for you. But as a minister, you tend to feel responsible for the pain, the successes. You just start to feel responsible for people, and that can manage you. That can be a distraction. You can become so emotionally tied to the people, not realizing the people don't belong to you.
And see,
I serve you, but you're not mine, and I'm not yours.
My.
But it'll kill
That's
you
risk, though.
because, again, going back to Moses. Moses followed around and tell him, listen, man, you're doing too much. You gonna wear yourself out and you wearing them out.
And
doing
see,
too much.
That's what the Bible said. Cast all your cares.
Well, he.
I'm not Jesus.
Yeah.
I don't do so much.
Yeah.
But you know what? That is a slippery slope in ministry, because we have to be reminded of that. Because you can go, and say, if that person didn't grow spiritually, that's my fault.
Mm-hmm.
If that person didn't understand something about, that's my fault. That family hasn't been here for 2 weeks, and nobody called, and you're saying, oh my goodness, that's my fault. And
But that's our character, though, because I think
if you can.
But most of us are leaders, and we believe that the rise and fall of what we do is on us. And sometimes we get to the point where, wait a minute, now Alvin is good in this. Why don't I just let Alvin do it? But then when I let Alvin do it, Alvin, you ain't did that yet? Alvin got it. Alvin, did you?
Yeah.
Alvin, did you? Bro, if you told me to do it, back up. But we feel that we have to have our hands on everything, and to the point that, and it's like he says, every time somebody turns around, hey, I need this. Oh, okay, I got it. I need this. And then you get so busy with everything else that you forget what your main mission is. And what we have to learn how to do is, okay, hey, Alvin, I need this done. Can you get that done? Just let me know when it's done. But for some of us, we are too.
But let me say that.
Go ahead.
Let me say this. I plan in the word.
Sure.
So if I say, can you get this done? For me, it's just me. If it don't get done, I'll give you one time.
Oh, I'm with you.
And so this is, I think we are God's mouthpiece. We are the ministers, those who lead. But we're stewards.
Ain't no doubt about it.
So we're responsible, and I get what you're saying, but we're still responsible for God's work getting done.
Well, this is the two ways I look at it. Two things that I always say to myself, and I try to say to myself every day. Inspect what you expect, and equip what you expect. And a lot of times we don't equip people.
And let me speak into that. One of the most difficult things I believe in ministry is there is the preaching of the word. There is the declaring the truth and leading people closer to God. And then there is management. And most ministers are not prepared to manage, especially at levels or areas of growth. So it's much easier to manage 10
Sure enough.
than 250. And then you could be a great manager of 250, but then 400 kills you. So, I think we don't talk about this enough. There are levels of ministry that you can become disqualified. The what you held in your hand and what you managed and what you prepared. I can't equip a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. I've never been the CEO. I've never been the CEO of a Fortune, so I can't train somebody. So sometimes your ministry can grow to a point to where you really do have to do less if it's going to have to grow, and bring in skilled and equipped people to start managing certain areas of it.
Let me ask this. How many people did Moses lead out of Israel? Many. Now, when God called him, he was up there leading some sheep. And it wasn't a million of them. So I think God had prepared him to lead that number. Later on, he had to, because he was trying to take it all on himself, and he had to bring some people in to help him. But I think if
Let me go back to that same example. Before he was dealing with sheep, he was operating in palace. So how many people were in Egypt? Then you can be able to see how he had the opportunity and the seat to sit back.
Ruling, though.
But he would watch.
But
he was watching.
But he was close to the ruler. He could observe. He could observe how things. He wasn't working day in and doing brick. He was in the palace.
He caught it.
He could see it.
He
He left there and then became a ruler. And then notice this.
But I think God can prepare you, because
And I believe that. Now, I do believe that. It's just the idea of saying
David was a horrible father.
But some ministers have the ability to grow with the ministry.
Sure.
And then there are some where you're saying, now at this stage, this is too much. And it depends on really who you are.
Well, Moses had to come and get some help.
We
Once the people got too big.
can still use the very example that you brought up about Moses. Leading sheep is, all intents and purposes, letting the sheep get to know who you are.
Yeah.
They know your voice,
Yeah.
and you say, okay, let's go.
Yeah.
So if I've got to lead 1 million folk that I've been around, I let them know who I am. They smell like me, look like me. I say, let's go. But then after we get there, and I'm having to deal with, okay, now wait, what are y'all talking about? What are y'all fighting over? I think that's what he's looking at in terms of, I could
Dealing with
lead
the
a mass,
personality.
not because he was a good leader of sheep.
Yeah.
Y'all follow me, let's go. But then personal management,
Yeah.
Jethro had to say, look, you can't get every one
He
of
gave him a system.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
where I see,
I can see
that
I
whole
see
thing
Yeah.
about we can get to a place where, but if, for me, in looking at that whole concept, I'm still learning. So I don't even want to speak as an authority. I'm learning how to feel when I didn't make the impact. So if something came up and I didn't take it, because for years the whole system that you just came up with, that sounded like a great system. I'm counseling on this day and this day. But they called me crying on Tuesday. And my compassion
Yeah.
Let me do it.
I'm still learning how to feel
Me too.
when it is, you know what, I haven't slept in 2 days.
I used to have
And
my family.
my family is not. And the warning is, well, if you don't do it, it's going, okay. And I got to remember that I'm not holding up these people. God is holding them up.
And because we're God's people, God will give you what you need to minister to these people.
Amen.
Going back to Moses being a shepherd or David being a shepherd,
Mhm.
you can't lead without breeding. If you lead, you also breed. If
Well-
you get them sheep got to multiply.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
All right.
Ultimately, they got to go to the slaughter. There got to be some attrition somewhere. So the same people that you lead, they would die off ultimately and eventually, unless you're breeding while you're leading. And I think Jesus was teaching systems as well. We got to know systems. I mean, all of the multi-level marketing came out of Scripture.
I
Yes,
believe
You
it.
go get two. Philip found his brother.
I believe- yes, sir.
We found the wife. That
I
12,
believe
then you got 70, then you got 120. So they multiply. That's a system. And then in John 6, he asked Philip, you got a system for all that right there, for the people that's coming? Use your vision. Look up and see what's coming.
Yeah.
He said, phew, our budget. I don't we got a budget for that. I don't see us doing it. But he himself knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
And Jesus instructed, make the people sit down. Come back over here. And you have that blessed and multiplied. He gave it to the 12, then the 12 gave it to them. Sat down and picked this
System.
system. We got to know that the Scripture teaches systems. And we got to know that God cares about us so very much in our ministries. He put us here for a reason, and He wants us to succeed. And He's going to attach to us what it is that we like, the people who also know systems. People can take some load
That's what
off
you
of
were
us.
saying.
Right?
And I always got to
need
be
go on
open.
the top of the
Yeah.
mountain and watch and look over everything. Watch down in all things, right? Somebody to hold up his hands. Joshua, you fight.
You
Right.
fight.
Yes.
People down there.
Yeah.
You ain't got to be down there in the
Yeah.
bloodbath. You can take a high seat so you can maintain your vision and have everything to do with whether or not this battle is being won
All right.
or lost. I think we need to know what our position is and use
That's good.
what God has given us around us and not be insecure. Because you can't do that.
Yeah,
You got to allow people to fail.
You have
Yes.
See, Trey ain't gonna do it. Trey said, "You got one time. Got one time. We gotta allow people.
You have to give them the room. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Feel.
Yes,
We
sir.
learn from our failures.
Right.
Yes, sir.
You
You
gotta
have to.
let people
You have to.
fumble, and fall, and then when they get back up like Peter, go tell Peter, I'm still gonna use it.
Yeah.
Tell him I'm back. I'm gonna use it. If we gotta go to the fish, we can get it.
Yes, sir.
Because we feel like his failure is his demise, and it's not. I can still use you. Go feed the sheep.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, they got to.
Let me say this will be a last question.
What's the biggest misconception of, I want everybody to go around, what's the biggest misconception about a minister? from the person that's sitting in the pew and they looking up at the pulpit, what's the biggest misconception about preachers?
You don't do any work. That's all they do is preach on Sunday, teach on Wednesday, and go home. That's it. I can do that. That's the.
He got his sermon offline.
Some of them do.
But I'm saying even to diminish that, he don't do any work.
Yeah.
Not only did he not really study it,
Yeah.
he just got it offline, printed it, and ran with it. But he's not ministering.
Or that he's got it all together. You know, he looks all polished up there on Sunday. He looks good in that suit. And you thinking, and I think we said it earlier, man, he ain't got no faults. He got it all together. That's why he preached to me. Hey, man, I'm struggling every day just like you. I just got off the phone with Trey to talk to Trey about what I was going through.
Same thing in a different way. He don't struggle with sin nor situation.
I'm sorry, say that again.
He don't struggle with sin nor situation. He struggles.
He struggles.
Misconception.
One of the misconceptions about a preacher is he has all the answers.
That's why I gave it to him. That's my response.
Whatever I need, whatever I'm having a problem with, whatever I have difficulty with, he has the answer. And I fought him on one of two occasions. One, if he didn't give me the answer I wanted. And I fought him if he's not available to give me an answer at first. And so we become messianic almost to some people, because if I didn't get it from him, or if he doesn't take the time to tell me, then I don't have a word.
I would say that we are efficient, kind of similar to that, but that we are efficient in all areas. That we're good at everything. That there are some areas that we just, that's not mine. You know? But they expect you kind of the all answers. Well, I came up with this, so tell me the answer for that. Or, well, we're dealing with this. How should you? But sometimes we, have to be kind of like Moses, where this system that I had wasn't the best system. I needed to learn another. So sometimes, and it may be just my ministry, but sometimes it comes from you should be efficient in all of these areas. Everything that you do should be highly successful because you're a man of God. But sometimes our frailty shows up that, I struggled with that. I'm just reminded of, Peter walking into Cornelius' home. He still had this kind of, man, I don't usually do this. And his whole, the whole sheep deal, he wasn't there yet, but he was still learning. So there are some areas for me that I'm still learning. I haven't gotten, I'm still sitting in class. God has me leading, but I'm still learning.
I think the biggest misconception is that they're not aware of how much pain preachers carry. We live with pain. We wake up with it. We go to bed with it. We carry other people's pain. We can be having a great day, but there will be a heaviness because the people we minister to are heavy. They are not aware of how heavy most preachers are. And many times, the most powerful preachers are the ones who carry the most pain. They have more to pull from out of that bucket. And so sometimes the strength and the power can come off as arrogant when really is the managing of all of this pain. So I want to appreciate y'all.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.